tonight is the presidential debate, the first possibly of three, or maybe the first of just one, between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. In advance of that debate, polling guru Nate Silver predicts Trump has 64% chance of winning the Electoral College in latest forecast. That's right. Nate Silver has the Silver Bulletin now on Substack. He was able to monetize his predictions. He doesn't have 538 anymore. Now he's going indie, and he paywalls.
Oh, he doesn't. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Now he's on a Substack. So if you go to 538, that's now something else. Polling guru Nate Silver and his election prediction model gave Donald Trump a 63.8% chance of winning the Electoral College in an update to his latest election forecast on Sunday, after a New York Times Siena College poll found the former president leading Vice President Kamala Harris by 1 percentage point. Harris has come out ahead in several national polls and swing state polls since taking over the top of the ticket. However, the results of the new New York Times Siena College poll, according to Silver, show that the results of the poll confirm this election model's view that there was a shift in momentum in the race. The New York Times Siena College poll also found more voters said Harris is too liberal or progressive on key policy issues than voters who said they considered Trump to be, quote, too conservative. According to his model, Harris has just a 36% chance of winning the Electoral College and overall leads Trump by 2.5 points in Silver's national polling average. A new New York Times Siena College poll this morning contained excellent news for Donald Trump. This is a quote, showing him 1 point ahead in a head-to-head matchup against Kamala Harris and 2 points up with minor candidates included. This is one of our highest-rated pollsters, so it has a fair amount of influence on the numbers, reducing Harris's lead in our national polling average to 2.5, which would put her in dangerous territory in the Electoral College, Silver wrote in the update at 11 a.m. on Sunday. Silver initially wrote on Wednesday that Trump's chances of winning the Electoral College have increased from 52.4 to 58.2 since the end of August. Harris's odds had decreased from 47.3 to 41.6 in that same time frame. Silver also noted that if Harris performed well in the debate, the New York Times poll might not matter. The good news for Harris is that there's debate on Tuesday, and if she turns in a strong performance, nobody is going to care so much about the Times poll. We'll have a longer narrative update on the state of the race coming later today, he wrote. Silver also said on Wednesday that Michigan and Pennsylvania, both key swing states, might prove to be a problem for her. In Pennsylvania, polling averages had Harris plus 1.8 pre-DNC, but it's now Harris plus 1. That's before any convention bounce adjustment, which is implemented at a later stage of the model. In Michigan, the polling average has fallen from Harris plus 3.1 to Harris plus 1.9. Silver pointed to multiple key portions of the New York Times poll in an additional post on Sunday, specifically the fact that 47% of voters see Harris as too liberal. Quote, but Harris also blew one big opportunity to tack to the center with her selection of Tim Walz rather than Josh Shapiro. That tiny minority of progressives objected to Shapiro was an argument in Shapiro's favor, if anything. There you go. That's what they think of you guys, Kyle and Crystal. I think Walz was a decent enough pick on his own merits, but given an opportunity to offer a tangible signal of the direction her presidency was headed, she reverted to 2019 mode. He's referring to when she ran on that sort of progressive, quote unquote, ticket of I'm for Medicare for all at the first. That was the most notable example of that. So, Nate Silver used to be a very credible guy. Believe it or not. In 2012, he called the Romney versus Obama race exactly right, 50 out of 50 states. Every single state he called right. Not only that, he got the margins uncannily close to being right. I mean, he was pretty much spot on.
Well, that's what made his name.
In that election, and that is what made his name. Then he started reading his own press, and now he is, fancies himself more as much a pundit as a data analyst, and that's where you get that bit of,
based on
editorializing.
That, he's not good at it. Yeah.
Right. The editorializing that, Shapiro would have been a better pick than Walz. He's very much a water carrier for the establishment Democrats now. Not that there's much difference between establishment Democrats and progressives now, but he still toes that very, very inside centrist
What
party
progressives?
line. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a less meaningful difference now than it was in the past. But by 2020, even by 2016, he was basically a Hillary Clinton water carrier. And in this example, though, in the 2012 race, because he was so close, because he got everything pretty much spot on. I mean, that was pretty much 100% accurate, his take there. State by state, it was 100% accurate. He wrote a book called The Signal and the Noise, which is actually a very interesting book from a data analyst perspective. This was before he started giving his takes on things, right? It's back when he was just a math guy. And the premise of that book is that when you are looking to predict any kind of outcome that involves analyzing lots of data where there's lots of information, there's going to be a ton of information, most of which he categorizes as noise. That doesn't mean it's fake information. It means it's not relevant to predicting the outcome. And the challenge when you're going to make a prediction model is to find within that noise a signal, a through line. And what this new New York Times Siena poll seems to be telling him is that the signal of the race, the signal, probably the most relevant piece of data or piece of data to track throughout the poll is the anti-incumbency sentiment. The fact that voters overwhelmingly see this as a change election, and only 25% of voters see Kamala as a change from Joe Biden. Right. That could prove insurmountable because that macro dynamic could be enough to sway enough swing states to put Trump over the top. And don't forget, one of the things we've gone over in weeks past is that Trump has essentially expanded the map to the point where now I would say with Kamala instead of Biden, Virginia and Colorado, those are pretty safe Democrat states now. But there's not one state that Trump won in 2020 that he's really in any serious danger of losing. Maybe North Carolina, but very unlikely. By contrast, half of the swing states, if not all of the swing states, the Democrats won in 2020, they are in danger of losing. In fact, you could probably say every single one, with the possible exception of New Hampshire. But Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Arizona, Nevada, those 6 states, Trump only needs 2 of them, really, depending on which ones. 2 or 3, depending on which ones. So there's more opportunities for it to break for Trump than there is for Kamala. That's why he has it figured a little over 60% chance. That's why you say Trump is the favorite. Is he the odds-on overwhelming favorite? I wouldn't say that because he still has to flip some states that are going to be tough for him to flip. You would think he has to win at least one of those blue wall states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, which at the end of the day, Republicans have only done.
The article also mentions Michigan would be tough for Kamala.
It is. Well, that's the thing. Like, he only needs really one of those. He doesn't need all 3 of them. So maybe Kamala's likely to win all 3 of them, but if she's 2/3 likely to win all 3 of them, it means she's likely to lose one of them. In which case she's likely to lose. So that's where I think he gets at that. Now, obviously, he sees the debate tonight as a major opportunity to reset the narrative, which it is. I think, generally speaking, debates are pretty much pointless. I think they're pointless except for in cases where one candidate melts down, as is what happened in June, or in cases where the race is as close as it is. And don't mistake the 63% chance of victory for Trump as Trump has 63% of voters in the polls. No. It's a 63% chance that Trump will eke it out by a narrow margin in enough states to win through the Electoral College. So it's very close. And when the race is this close, debates do matter. And so the stakes are pretty high for this evening, no doubt.
Right. And, Kamala's people, having seen how the first debate went and how having the mics muted benefited Trump because it forced discipline on him, they realized that was a mistake. And that was a big part of the contention over the last month about this, because they wanted the mics on, really. And, Greg Foreman, the black conservative, says this, and I think he's right. They wanted that I'm speaking now moment. That was why they wanted the mics on. They wanted Kamala to be able to pull a, excuse me, I'm speaking, and big viral moment. And now they're not going to get that.
Don't forget, she did that not just to the protesters this year, but she did that to Mike Pence 4 years ago. That was the big thing. Right.
She wanted to do that with Trump. Now she's not going to get to do that. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact that the mics are off makes it much less likely that Trump melts down. The fact However, Kamala, if you feed her lines, if she knows what's coming, if she's very prepared, she can momentarily cover over how essentially weird and creepy she is. So I'm not predicting a meltdown on her part. I would imagine they've prepped her for if Donald Trump starts talking about Willie Brown or something completely unpredictable. Go to your talking points. Don't engage. Don't let him drag you into anything like that. It's Trump. He could go there. Just keep going. And you can see that even in the one interview that she granted the peasants, where they brought up the "Are you really black?" And she was like, "Well, he's going to do that." They definitely are telling her, "Don't engage on those things with him."
Yeah, for sure. Now, a few weeks ago, I'd have told you Trump is more liable to get too aggressive out of panic, that the momentum has reversed so much, but the momentum has really kind of stabilized now, which is something that Silver wrote about in his piece. And so he's less likely to make those mistakes. This could be a boring, wonky policy debate for all the hype. And if Trump executes that, if he executes that well, then a boring, wonky policy debate favors him, because the two top issues on voters' minds are inflation and immigration, and the Republicans are heavily favored on both of those issues.
Right.
So if this is a boring debate and he stays on script and pounds those issues, then it will favor him. And the other thing that, you have to figure gives him a slight edge this evening is that unlike 2020, where he was just chomping at the bit to go at Joe Biden and he overdid it and fucked up, he didn't give Joe Biden a chance to embarrass himself because he jumped down his throat every minute. He now has a proof of concept of what success looks like when he controls himself. Like he saw that when he held back against Biden, not only did Biden look bad, but he looked better, right? And that was just a couple of months ago. So now his team could point to, remember, Cartman, 2 months ago when you controlled yourself for an hour and a half, unlike every other day of your life? Yeah, exactly. That works. Do that. Do that. And there's a chance he does stick to that. So, yeah, like I said, we're going to be live at 9 o'clock, and the stakes are pretty high given the closeness of the race. But I think it could potentially be, as Russell said, a pretty tame affair. And a tame affair really favors who has a lead on the issues, and that there's no doubt Trump has a lead on the issues.
This is why I felt over the summer, during all those weeks ago when she was named the nominee, that her momentum was more apparent than real. Sure, people are just relieved to get Joe Biden out. It's a new flavor. Everyone's excited for a minute. She announces her VP. They have the convention. Of course, the media is completely in the tank for her, so the positive coverage is relentless. That was bound to peter out. And because Trump has such structural advantages on the issues, now things are shifting back towards reality. She's not the shiny new object. She was the most unpopular vice president in modern history a month ago. So what? All of a sudden, she's going to have this enormous base of support. It never really made any sense that that was going to hold.
Please clap.